All right, two cells today. I don't think we really need to go over the higher time frame, but we will because that's how we always like to start things, right? So we're in this daily, reacting from a daily, weekly, monthly kind of order block, broken structure. I've analyzed the crap out of this for many days now, and I'm comfortable saying that range, break a structure. This range comes in, makes a primary, created this sort of internal primary right here. Price reacts from it, and our anticipation is to break through um, this range here, basically, and we did. So that was kind of an obvious play or an obvious sort of thing that we saw. So now we're just initiating away. We're initiating down and we're likely heading down toward an OB or a primary to bounce off of. So here's the last known primary and here's the last known OB. Now, as I saw price get real close to this OB and sort of stop, I see them do this a lot. And I've written here, price has halted before an order block. It could be building cause for future or could be running it soon. So basically either option, but so we got to look at lower time frame in here to decide like what's going to happen. But we have full anticipation that this will get run. It's just when. And so that's when we kind of jump over to our lower time frame. And I'm not even going to bother going to the 5 minute because I just don't think it's necessary when the 1 minute has got so much information. So here's the 1 minute. I'm going to make it full screen. And so here we are, here's that low mitigation that's, let's say the order block is under here somewhere, that higher time frame one. And it's come here and it's created this cell primary right before, literally just taking it out. It had all the reaction points and then it just sort of slipped through it, taking it out, causing a break of structure. That to me means that a cell primary formed, but it couldn't hold price, which indicates what? Longs from here. So I was looking at this when I'm at the charts, say 7 a.m. and I see all of this happening and I'm just like drawing this on my chart and I'm just like, oh my God, this is just gold. I'd have loved to have been around trading all of this because it was very, what's the word? It was very obvious in hindsight, I guess, but it looked clean. So we created liquidity, pulled back, created a buy range. Our anticipation was always to go long. You didn't have to take this first one because you could be thinking, well, I'm not sure, Then they do exactly the same again, build cause, come down. Where are they going to do it? Right into here. And this is when we start seeing probably on a lower time frame. In fact, I can see it right here. Here's a range, initiation, break a structure, and they come down, take liquidity, and then break structure up here. So right at this point right here, at this candle, we're buys all day long. And so it's just about getting into the market and then holding your position. So we can see that we are just the land of buy primaries. And that's really what I wrote. And I analyzed all of it. And I'm seeing like buy range, buy range, buy range, buy range into it. And then here was the interesting one. So we've got a buy range inside of a buy range and then another buy range inside of another buy range. But where did price zip to, right? It comes to this point here. And then let's just flick to the cells, right? So buy land, here's all the buy land. And then it comes into what? Last known cell primary on the lower time frames, right? So this is last known. So I've got the land of cell primaries and I've got the land of buy primaries, right? And so it comes into that cell primary to having taken liquidity. And I'm always thinking, well, if this zips up and breaks, the break construction here equals a cell primary formation. I wrote that kind of as it was sort of still forming. The break construction could also mean it's forming a new buy primary because it worked both ways. It was, this could have been, if we broke down here, this could have been the buy primary that was going to shoot up from here, taking out the liquidity from this internal one, because it sort of just came into this area and this was the stack, right? And as we know, we do that sometimes. We use primaries to become liquidity. And so I was always thinking both sides quite well. And let's look at the first trade of the day then, which comes into this guy here. I beg your pardon, this actually wasn't a tag. This was just showing what I wanted and my understanding of what was happening. So we formed this range right here. Now, don't forget, like I'm expecting this to turn into a potential buy primary, and so all I'm needing is a lower time frame buy primary. I need something on the lower time frame now to get me in. And so I see a range initiation, very weak, but a breaker structure. They take out all that liquidity and push, creating IPA, right? Inefficient price action. We never enter above liquidity, and in hindsight, I wish I'd have just gone like here, underneath this low here, and just, 2 pips or something. Gone for it. But anyway, I analyzed the range, and as I looked at the range, I drew these 2 boxes on, although I've got them colored transitional, and they are transitional, so it's accurate, but it wouldn't be really the color I'd super want because I use this color for other things. But anyway, as I saw in this whole order block, right, I was thinking to myself, the bulk of the orders is actually within this section of the order block, thinking that these are all wicks. This is the meat and the potatoes, a wick again, and then what's this? Sharp up, sharp down, sharp up. Nothing. This is all wick. So it's only really this section here that we need to analyze. And for me, I saw most of the orders here, right? I also drew this in here and went, well, that's true that this sort of from this point, this sort of area here, this was most of the orders, but there were orders here too. You can't discount them. You can't write them off. So I did draw the box on here as well. I said it's going to be one of these two. I had my limit order right here. Obviously didn't get tagged and up and away. So that would have been a great trade to have gotten into. Even though it didn't work out, it was following intention and following the understanding of the marketplace. And so I wrote up here again, like I'm looking for a lower time frame buy primary to form yet again, and ideally come from within here, like to form within here. Anyway, we didn't get it, and so momentum has shifted to sells. So let's go to our sell side. So it took me a while to get an entry, and we're going to go into 15 seconds on this one. So it took me a while because we've had the mitigation up here and we could be forming a sell primary. It looks like we might be able to form one. And so I'm just looking for that again, lower time frame. So here's a range, very weak range, right? So range, initiation, breaker structure. But what did it break? It only broke itself and didn't break anything else. So I wrote this as weak liquidity. I wasn't really feeling it. The actual sell primary is like this, but I refined it to this because this was the initiation that broke the structure and took the liquidity, and it took liquidity from there and from here, right? So it's valid, it's just weak valid, it's just kind of weak. So here we are in my, what do you call it? The revised or refined, I should say, refined sell primary. And so let's have a look at like how I'm analyzing things. So I see all of this, I see this sell primary come in here, and I wrote to myself, I'm not willing to enter here as we've already had a reaction, and this could be something higher time frame. So let's talk about the reaction because it's right here. So sure enough, we form this sell primary, and the one thing that kept me out of this, yes, I wanted in, and I think I had a limit order right up here because this was the area I thought, this is the bulk of this order block in here. This is wick. And so as we come down, where do I want? I want to get my stop as safe as I can possibly get it and in the best possible position. So I was hoping that price would come up and do that. They then took that liquidity from here. So they came back into the range and they broke structure. Although it was minor, they broke structure. And so I immediately took out my order because I was thinking, well, this is a lower time frame range, sell primary. And if we've already had a reaction out of the range and a breaker structure, that's the range done. Really, for me, I don't need to keep playing off of it. I need to wait for another one to form lower down and catch that. So that was my thought process. And then as I'm seeing it all, I'm also thinking, well, they could actually turn this into liquidity because look where we stopped. They made pretty much equal highs, and it looks sort of fishy. It didn't look like the best possible one to trade off of. The breaker structure was weak, all of this kind of stuff. So anyway, I was glad I held off. Price did come back into this sell primary, which is where I want things to happen, right? I want to be trading out of sell primaries. I'm looking for a lower time frame sell primary, so I'm constantly sort of drawing things on my chart. I was expecting this to get ran, it didn't. but we can use this to see sort of where we mitigated out of from, right? Then we get this happen, very sharp, but it was like a range, breaker structure, weird breaker structure, right? Because we've already sort of mitigated the low of it. Like we've come down, let's show here, right? We've come down and halted right at the equal lows and retraced. So yes, we made equal lows, maybe on a different liquidity provider that actually went through, right? And so it was a break of structure. So it was a range after a break of structure. And so I was counting this though as the range break of structure on my chart system and on my chart data, I should say. And so a range break of structure, having just come out of this, just coming out of this, right? I'm thinking, okay, so here's a sell primary, looks quite aggressive. I just went straight in, 2-pip stop. I just wanted my high covered and I got immediately taken out and they turned into liquidity, which was a shame, obviously. I don't want that to happen, but it's good to see how everything works out, right? So yes, this was a, let's say it's a sell primary, which I believe it is still. It's weak. Like I said, the breaker structure and everything was a bit iffy, but it was a sell primary because it took liquidity and then broke. And then as we went through it, like I've been saying, this now becomes transitional. What does that mean? That means that we have to have reactions. There's going to be reactions. Even if like we pump through it and we're going to be coming back down again, they've got to mitigate out of it. And so they didn't mitigate at that time. And so what did we see? We saw a lot of like time spent in this area. Hindsight is 2020. But I would love to realize this range initiation. Did it break? Didn't even break, but it would have been, smart of me to go and look for anything. Range, breaker structure, comes back in, and as soon as structure broke here, this would have been a great entry here, this sort of candle here. Anyway, it is what it is. Didn't happen, got taken into liquidity, but I understood what was happening. I understood that I wanted to sell. I wanted to sell from this area. I just didn't get my position correct. So I'm not really too worried about that or too hurt. It was what it was. So then I'm following, I'm drawing and following what's going on. These are very weak sell primaries, but this is the best one actually, because we had a range just before the structure, snaps into the structure, breaks structure, boom, comes up, and I'm like a little kid in a fucking candy store. I want in on this setup so hard all day, every day, because this is just gorgeous. Range, break a structure, it's solid, comes up fast and aggressive into a mitigation and then breaks fast and aggressive. So I've got my order and I get snagged straight away. And of course, in Gary fashion, I get my breaker structure and I go break even. I wish I'd have held it. Even this second, I wish I'd have held the order. Watching what's happening right now, I still want to be in this trade. And the reason I want to be in this trade is because this whole setup here is just so picture perfect. It is like an absolute ideal setup for me, and it's the one I want. This is what I want to see. I want to see a range just before a breaker structure. I want to see it aggressively do this, aggressively come back up, aggressively break, and then come straight back in aggressively. And that's what we did. And so all of this is just accruing, I believe, their sell position. And so what's going on right now? Well, if this high holds, which I can see reasons why, here's a low time sell. It didn't break structure, but it is what it is. It broke on itself, and then it came up. They took liquidity and broke. So this right here is a sell primary on the lower time frame, and absolutely could hold, right? Whether it will or not, who knows? We're about to find out now. Actually, we could have changed momentum. Momentum could have gone bullish from down here. We'll have to look at why it's gone bullish. Probably coming out of what? A higher time frame order block. Something like that. Are they stacking again? Look at this. It looks like they're stacking again for more liquidity into that area. And so I can totally understand that. And so we're going to see if this does hold. But this was a beautiful, beautiful setup, and I was very, very excited about it. Like I said, I wanted to keep my stop open. I did. Here's what goes through my head. Well, if we've mitigated, then that's the high. That's all I need. We've had that aggression away. We've taken out a TOB right here, transitional order block right there. We've taken it out. We've done everything I needed to see as far as like a mitigation. And so it's for that reason I wasn't too worried about it. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go break even. And if they take me, they take me. And then I got taken right here. And then, of course, we did get the reaction a little higher up once they'd gotten all of the liquidity. And of course, here's a range initiation. Look, they wanted to take the liquidity from this little range here. And so this absolutely 100% is a sell primary right now. Okay. Here's the actual liquidity that we can use to sort of make it stronger if we need to make it stronger. But there's the range. Here's the hardcore liquidity because it actually broke structure as well. Here's the break of structure. So it's hardcore liquidity. That's what I call it anyway. This was the refined range. You could say it was all of this, but this is the refined range because this is what took the structure at the end. Boom, straight into this area. Now, if we can get a sell primary form from in here, a lower time frame one, we're in. Okay, we're going to be taking it. I'll take it right now as well live. So let's see. We may as well just hang around just to see if we do break structure up here or not. While we're doing that, so there's my trade for the day, but while we're doing that, I'm waiting to see if something forms. Let's look on the buy side of things on a 15-second. Let's see if we can analyze, see if there's some sort of a range initiation that we're sort of seeing that breaks some form of structure. So here's a lower time frame buy, comes in, took structure there, comes down, takes structure there. So it's very low, weak, low time frames. Not really interested in that. And you could argue that this is actually going to become one as well. So let's see, buy primary. So the range, they came up here, broke structure, but structures itself, so very weak again, comes down, take the liquidity, holds, looks like it's holding before going back up. So I'm definitely favoring sells here. Like this is extremely weak and this is extremely weak as well. It doesn't mean that has to happen like that, but it just means that's what I'm seeing. Oh, it's hard not to just jump in. Like it's hard not to just go, oh fuck it, let's risk it right now, because it is like just such a golden area. You know, this is where you want to be shorting from 100% of the time. You know, like this is just a really good one. But let's analyze it deeper because this is what we do. We're traders with analyzing abilities, right? Sell order block. We've come in and we've had a reaction. We always enter above liquidity. So this would be the liquidity. So that was meant to be an S. There we go. A dollar symbol. So there's the liquidity stacked. They came in, they grabbed it. And so this would have been the kind of area we want. But for me, I do have to see something to get me in. I have to see that the liquidity grab. I need the sell primary to form. So can we analyze it? Can we see anything? I can't really see anything other than this sort of range on the buy side. There's no other range that could sort of come in here, break structure to the sell side. So even though it looks like it's a good sell, the buy could hold. It looks like these buys actually might hold. Let's just give it a minute. Let's just give it a minute to play out. Like, why not? Why not? You know, let's just literally give it 2 minutes till 9:47, and then if it hasn't done anything by then we'll skip on with this video and close it out. But let's just see here as well. Remember, we do this sometimes as well. We create these into these. So if we do as well end up breaking this one up here, but halting in this kind of an area, this is absolutely valid. Because remember when this was created on the inside of the order block, and we can absolutely trade this above it as long as it sort of stops here. And then, of course, what have you got above this too? Look at this. This is a sell primary, yes, but notice how these all connect. Connection, right? You see what I'm saying when I say connect? Like they touch. They touch the bottoms touch. At least touch, if not more. This one didn't touch anything, right? So I can see big reasons why you would want to react out of this order block here, and why we might want to come up to it. So this whole thing here could literally just be for liquidity. So I could 100% see this kind of vision happening in my head now. Getting a reaction out here that doesn't break structure, but adds money into this area. They then come up, run up into here, and take it before the actual move down and the break of structure. that's definitely sort of something that I've seen BFI do and is possible for them to do. One other thing while I'm thinking about it is I did draw something. Have I deleted it? There it is. So this was sort of a possible, what I was looking at within these two ranges. So these two blues in here represent this part of price action. So what was going on is we pushed down, and we formed another primary within it, which created the liquidity below. So then, as I saw price coming back down into a break of structure didn't mean that these sells were we weren't buying anymore. To me, they just meant that we could potentially be putting in this higher time frame buy primary, which would have looked something like from this high all the way down to this low and then went up. So that's another reason I was really interested in the buys, is because I thought we could be actually creating that buy primary. I think I actually did talk about that already, but I just didn't show the drawing there. So yeah, I think I'm actually gonna keep trading for a little bit, even though I've done this video. We've broken structure here. It just seems interesting. I just really want to see what happens when we get to here, and I also want to see what happens inside of here, inside this kind of an area, because these are very interesting to me. So if I can't see a touch here, a range, initiation, break a structure, take that liquidity and then go, and then I can get in off that sell primary, that's something I'll be very interested in. But I'm also really, 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 really interested in seeing what happens at this range here. Because even though, yes, we are pushing down, why leave that kind of a gap? And it looks like no one else would catch this. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about this, because we've got our sell primaries. They're just thinking that this range here connects the two, but it's not a sell primary. It's not like a primary that took liquidity. Instead, what it is, it's just an order block that held price up. So I could see how other BFI, SMC traders could get confused by this, and totally be thinking, that this is, no longer valid once we take out, say, this range here or this range here. They could be thinking, oh yeah, we're definitely long now. As soon as we get into here, we're long. We should be looking for long setups. And so of course they'll bring price back into like a beautiful fat range where they've stacked a shit ton of sell orders, right? We know they're sell orders, or at least we believe they are. And so they come up here thinking, oh yeah, this is a buy order block. Boom, this is what they're looking for. But actually what that happens is they get their reaction, they get taken in, and then boom, take their stops, maybe manipulate a little bit longer. But what's the manipulation doing? It's actually creating a sell primary, right? So this is the kind of thing we want to be seeing from around here. Definitely short, definitely want to see shorts. I'm seeing very weak buying activity with these ranges, very weak indeed. And even when we do break structure, very weak, comes straight back in. So not interested in this. And if we do get any kind of incredible rally that with some sort of aggression, I believe it will be off of no volume. Okay, so now we've tapped my area of interest. Let's color it differently. And we've got this kind of reaction, which is strong. Now, something I want to talk about right now is I've seen a lot is that reactions are also used, strong reactions like this are often used to trick your brain. Meaning, when we see a sell-off, we're immediately thinking we're sells, we're short, short, short. However, what they're trying to do is to get you to see that we're short before doing something else, right? So this could be, now look at this. This is if this is going to turn into a buy primary, which I believe it is, this is actually fucking a good sign here, because we did break structure up top, right? So let's draw this in on my buy side. Now this is looking strong on the buys now. See how quick we've changed. And if this can happen like this, look at this. This is hardcore liquidity right here. Hardcore liquidity. Why? Because we took liquidity from up above here. We broke structure. So if anyone was long, where are they going to put their stops? Probably in this area, maybe this area, maybe this area, and then we've got an order block here to sort of fall back on. This is where they can pick up more liquidity, the banks, right? So here they are picking up liquidity. Now we're thinking longs. Now we're like nicely aggressively long, because we see that this was weak as shit. It didn't do anything at all, really. It was just really built for liquidity. So I'm going to even get that off my chart. I really don't like the look of this one either. But we'll keep it there nonetheless, just in case something does sort of react out of it. I could sort of potentially see, some form of a reaction out of there. I don't know how big the reaction would be, but this is what's looking nice right now. A potential buy zone, buy primary that could yeet us into this area, which is when we'd expect a reaction. And then if price does work through this zone, I'd be saying to myself, well, that's the first time this zone has been, a sell's primary has been penetrated. That's a very bullish symbol. And look what's going on. They're tempting these longs, aren't they? And here could be a low time frame buy primary, in fact. Don't know if it looks like this. Sell. Let's just look on a 5 second because that's tricky. There it is. So there's the range, the initiation. We'll put in the breaker structures here. They come down fast and furious and create a buy primary here, right? So we're fast and furious into this zone. Take all the liquidity possible. And then it looks to me like we're about to break structure. But it's tricky. It's very complex. This is a complex one to see. Now they've taken liquidity from themselves. I mean, this never did form as a buy primary. This just formed as a liquidity grab. So now let's look for other kinds of ranges here. This could be a nice, what's a buy to sell, so it's not really applicable on this side of the screen. So I'm conscious that I want to turn this video off here. I don't want to keep this going. We got some good possible setups forming here, and we can see from both directions. We can see that this touch here is pretty good. And now I'm seeing something just real quick. I didn't see this just then because I was focused on the buy primaries. Look at this. Let's just do it proper. Look at this. Look at the break structure. This is a very good sign. So we've got a range that added hardcore liquidity because it had a good break. I mean, it wasn't the best of breaks, but it's good enough. By break and structure break, I mean, like, on these lower time frames. Forms a sell primary. What is up here? What you see this? You see this box? What is all this? This is an order block that has been taken out by a wick, meaning they just took all the liquidity in the area, but this hasn't been mitigated out there. Boom. Okay, we've got sell primary formed. Sell primary has been formed. It doesn't even matter if it's just a wick and it comes straight back in. That would be fine. I feel like it's going to initiate, but this is what I'm interested in right now. A Toblerone that has just formed up here inside of a sell primary. Let's refine our sell primary to this area here, since it was this that took the liquidity. As price broke out, it has come back in, and they already come back into the primary, and they've initiated away from this order block. So this is the last known order block, and I'd love to enter off of a primary touch, but there's something telling me that we could actually be going short right now. From in here, the speed and the aggression. Oh, all right. I'm gonna turn my video off and I'm gonna do some live trading. All right. Aloha, love.